Okay. For SARS, thank you for having me. I'm really excited. I'm hoping that, my experience can go on to serve my fraternity well, I suppose I should say. Um, so, heading back in my academic history all the way to undergrad, as an undergraduate, I studied mathematics and physics. I did a minor in computer science at Center College in Kentucky. And while I was there, I took a course on electronics that I just really fell in love with. Like, it was just amazing the amount of the magic in being able to use engineering principles to make things, just really appealed to me. So I decided that when I was going to go on to graduate school, that I was going to study electrical engineering. And so I took a couple of other courses for that. And then as soon as I graduated, I started the master's program at U of L in 2012 would have been when I started. So I did a master's program there, and I focused during that time on machine learning for robotics, because I'd also later on taken a robotics course in undergrad and fell in love with that too. So I knew that I wanted to do electrical engineering, and I knew that I wanted to do robotics with it. So EE seemed like the way to go. So I had 2 years in the master's program there, wrote my thesis on a machine learning algorithm. And then when I finished there, I basically started looking for a job about 2 or 3 months before I was slated to be done, which was a pretty reasonable time frame. And curiously enough, I spotted a post for a small startup company that was on the inside of the bathroom, one of the bathrooms in the mechanical engineering building. But it was an interesting placement. It was a very interesting sounding posting, right? Because I just happened to be paying attention. And so I went and I did an interview with them. And so right before I finished my master's, I started working there basically part-time, just kind of feel out the vibe and things, and I worked there for a couple of years, and it was a really fun place to work. Like, we did a lot of, it was very startup oriented, like we did a lot of stuff all over the place, which I found very exciting. And then the focus narrowed a little bit into more educational projects, which once they were done setting those up, I didn't really want to keep working on just maintaining an educational project. I wanted to do something a little bit more expansive than that. So I started looking for other jobs around about that time. This would have been late 2016 or so. I started looking. And curiously enough, I found a posting at U of L for a research engineer at the CON Center, for Renewable Energy. Yeah. So I came in and I did an interview with them, and I was really excited about the position. So I brought a whole bunch of materials. I set up a actual work history presentation and everything. I brought in some things that I built, all that stuff. I got very excited about it. And I talked to Dr. Sankar, Mahendra Sankar, who is a fantastic guy. Like, he basically sat me down and he said, I can see in you that what you want to do is the sort of thing that, like, you're motivated to do, but out there in the world, you're going to need a PhD to do the things that you're wanting to do. So I'm going to get you into the PhD program. And he did, and it worked out. He was a great advocate getting that set up, because it was, this very sudden, like, I left my previous job, I started this new job, and I sort of rolled into the PhD program there. And eventually settled on, because I wanted to do the robotics again, settled on working with Dr. Popa, Dan Popa's group at what was at the time the Next Gen Systems group, is now Larry, and got rolled into that group after working with a CON Center for about a year. And then I did my PhD there, focusing primarily on combinatorial planning algorithms for human-robot interaction, with a whole bunch of, as you get with robotics, it bundled up a whole bunch of other subjects. We did control systems and AI stuff and vision and all this stuff, which is, really nice to have a broad introduction to something that way. So I did my PhD there. I defended my dissertation in 2021, and I stayed on there for a little bit as a postdoc as well, working on wrapping up some projects and things like that. But I then was followed up on by a friend of mine who I'd met at that first startup that I worked with. And he had contacted me during 2020, right in the square in the middle of pandemic time, because he worked at a company that manufactured health devices. And he said, basically, we have some extra money because we've got this sort of stimulus package for these health related companies. And we've got a problem that I think would be a good machine learning project. Can you come and sort of like help me figure some of this stuff out? And I said, sure, because it sounded interesting and it was 2020. Everybody needed something to do. Um, so I went in and helped them for a little bit, but then I backed off of working with them when I was writing my dissertation because I was writing my dissertation. I no longer needed something to do at that point. But after that, they invited me to come back and work with them some more. So because it was a really positive environment, it was a very supportive environment, and it was a very interesting series of problems, I took them up on their offer to come work for them, and they're who I work for today.